שלום לכולם, שבנו אל רצועת השידור הקבועה שלנו בימי ראשון, עבר אקטואלי. אנחנו משודרים ביום 17 לשלישי 24, יתים קודם, הקלטה עכשיו, משודרים היום 17 במרץ 2024, זין באתר ב', ואנחנו ניתן לכם עכשיו היום כמה רעיונות שהיו לי בעבר, ברשתות זרות ובאנגלית, כי שמנו לב בשבוע שעבר עם השידור הזה, עם הרעיון הזה שהיה לי ב-BBC, שהדבר הזה מעורר תשומת לב רבה, ואנחנו יודעים שהיו רעיונות כאלה רבים גם בעבר. אז יאללה, אמרנו נכין לכם היום מהארכיון את המיטב שנמצא ברעיונות לרשתות זרות באנגלית. הרעיון הראשון שאנחנו רוצים לתת לכם הוא רעיון ארוך ברשת שידור ניו יורקית אמריקאית, נקראת ניוזמקס, לא מוכרת יותר מדי אבל מאוד אוהדת את ישראל. אל תדאגו, יש לנו בסוף גם בכנסת וגם מול סנטור אמריקאי שהגיע לכאן, ויש לנו גם ב-CNN מול חמאס, ככה בונבון מחכה לנו בסוף. אבל עכשיו אנחנו מתחילים במשהו נינוח מול מראיין אוהד בניו יורק, ראיון טלוויזיה, ראיון לא קצר שבאמת מפרט את כל העניין, ראיון שנתתי במאי 2014. בבקשה.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you back to the very busy Steve Malzberg show on this Wednesday edition. And I am very proud to welcome in our next guest who is in studio with us. He's the Deputy Speaker of the Knesset of the State of Israel. He's running for Prime Minister of the State of Israel, Moshe Feyglin. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Great to have you up here. Really appreciate you coming up. Boy, do I have a lot to talk about with you. I mean, there's no greater passion that I have inside of myself than what's going on in the Middle East, and especially with Israel, and how where we've come to under this administration after almost 6 years. But let's start with, if we can, where we are right now. There were reports in an Israeli newspaper that one of Israel's top journalists had been talked to off the record by State Department officials, administration officials here from the U.S., and basically was told that whether Israel likes it or not, they're going to have a two-state solution. Whether Israel likes it or not, they're going to divide up Jerusalem. Whether Israel likes it or not, blah, 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 blah. And that Israel is blamed by the administration for being the impediment to the talks, responsible for the breakup of the talks, basically because of apartment units that were built. Where are we right now the talks have broken off. Where do you see the future of those talks and the future of any talks with the Palestinians?
Any kind of talks with the Arabs in the land of Israel, I do not call them Palestinians because there is no Palestinian nation. We should start saying the truth. Where were they? Can you talk about the Palestinian history in the 19th century, for example? Can you give a name of a Palestinian poet from the 18th century, or show me a Palestinian coin or anything like that? It's one big lie. This false nation was created just for one reason, to destroy Israel. The minute, God forbid, Israel disappear, there'll be no Palestinians anymore. We should remember that the PLO, the organization that was supposed to liberate the land of Israel from all the Jews in Tel Aviv, Haifa, and Netanya, and Jerusalem, and so on, that organization was created in 1964, when all these territories that now we're being pushed to give to those
to Jordan and Egypt and Syria, right?
So as long as these territories belong to any other Arab nation, they don't care.
No problem.
They only care about the last square inch that the Jews are holding in the land of Israel, because this is the whole story. It's not about them having a state. It's about us don't.
I've always said, and I've gotten a lot of flack for it in various circles, but I've always said, wait a minute, give back the land to the Palestinians. And as you correctly point out, and as I alluded to, it was won in a war, in wars from Jordan and from Egypt. So and they don't want it back. Jordan doesn't want anything to do with the West Bank. So, and Gaza, Egypt doesn't want Gaza back. So when they say give it back to the Palestinians, I always ask, well, when did they actually have it?
What kind of occupation they're talking about? I don't remember having a war against Palestinians ever. There was a war against the Egyptians, the Jordanians, the Syrians. There was no war against Palestinians. So if you're calling yourself a nation and you want to be liberated from who? From who?
But now that is the backdrop, and as the as where we are, how history is. Nonetheless, the world, even Israel, through its prime ministers, has always talked peace, has talked with the Palestinians about giving land back, making an agreement which involves dividing up the land, etc. Even Netanyahu now, the talks recently broke off, depending on who you ask, but Israel withdrew because of the forming of a unified government with Hamas and the PLO, or the Palestinian Authority. But so I ask you, where to go from here, do you think, in the immediate, in the real political world, not what you consider to be the rightful place, but in the real live political world as it exists, what's going to happen next?
We have to face reality. We have to tell the truth, first of all, to ourselves in Israel, between the Jews and themselves, between the Israelis and themselves. And the truth is that the whole Oslo process was one big mistake. I said it all the time, including during these last talks, that these talks are tremendous mistake. Look what we got from it in the last 9-10 months. All we got from these talks is a few hundred murderers walking around our streets free now. That's all we got from it, which means there'll be more bloodshed, more war. This whole peace process.
You're talking about Netanyahu releasing,
right?
I think 3 stages of Palestinian murderers, with many of whom directly murdered women and children inside Israel.
Yes, look, I appreciate Netanyahu very much as the Prime Minister of Israel, but I think when Netanyahu talks about two-state solution, he's making a tremendous mistake. And I'm planning to run on the Likud primaries specifically because of that fact.
Okay,
it's about time that it will be very clear to the Arabs and to the entire world that the land of Israel belongs only to the Jews. It was given to us by God. There's no nation that belongs to that land, that belongs to its own land, more than the Jews belong to the Holy Land.
And when you say you're in the Likud party, obviously to the right politically of Benjamin Netanyahu, you run before in the primaries against him. You've done better each time you've run. What would as prime minister, that's what you would believe, that's what you would say, but what would that mean on the ground? What would that mean, in the world in which we live?
It means, in very simple words, the full Israeli sovereignty in every grain of the land of Israel, where we're holding, where the IDF led, where God gave what God gave us in the 1967 war, miraculously against all odds in 1984. All the times, in all the wars, the Arabs were willing to wipe us out, finish what Hitler, unfortunately, almost started just and stopped just 3 years before 1948. They said it openly. That's what they wanted to do. Once we finish the job, one will leave no hope for the Arabs to take over the land step by step. Then peace can begin.
And peace is an acceptance of Israel's existence.
Right. It's only for our decision, not for them.
Okay, we're talking to Moshe Feiglin. He is the Deputy Speaker of the Knesset of the State of Israel, running for Prime Minister of the State of Israel. We have, thankfully, another segment, and when we come back, we'll ask the Deputy Speaker about American policy, statements made by John Kerry, statements made by Mahmoud Abbas and others on the Steve Malzberg Show. Don't go away. All right, folks, welcome back. Part 2 of our interview with Moshe Feiglin, who is the Deputy Speaker of the Israeli Knesset, running for Prime Minister. And before we get to this administration, just specifically, if you can, as Prime Minister or running for Prime Minister, your peace plan, quote unquote, what the specifics of it be?
totally different than what failed for the last 20 years. Annex the land, flourishing the land with a lot of Jewish villages, encouraging the Jews to come from all over the world, aliyah, make aliyah, to immigrate into the land of Israel. There is 1.7 Arabs living in Judea and Samaria today. It's about 350,000 families. That's it. Israel spend almost 11% of its income every year on this false bloodshed Oslo agreement, which
living up to those terms.
That's right. This money should be transferred to help those Arabs who say they want to live anywhere else, help them find their future somewhere else, and those who wishes to leave can stay as a permanent residence, have their full human rights. Those who understand that the land of Israel belongs only to the Jews, only to the Jews, having only Jewish sovereignty, are welcome to stay. This is the real peace plan that can work, nothing else.
Well, Mr. Deputy Speaker, when John Kerry talks about how Israel, if they don't accept a two-state solution now or very soon, they couldn't help but become an apartheid state. Caroline Glick, who I'm sure you're familiar with, said that he's saying that inherently Jews are evil, because if you can't help but become an apartheid state and all that it implies and all that it actually is, then you have to be inherently evil, don't you?
Look,
what did you think when he said that?
First of all, my first reaction was, according to these ideas, America, the United States of America is an apartheid state, because there are many millions of Americans that having Barack Obama as the president, but cannot vote for him, like in Puerto Rico, in other places. All over the world, there are democracies that not everybody can vote, even though everybody have their full human rights, like in Hong Kong, Czechoslovakia, Latvia. Even England have territories in Cyprus where they took over in World War II,
no voting, right?
And there's no voting.
But he was sending a message with that word.
Of course, I understand it. I want to tell you one thing. Forget about John Kerry. These politicians comes and go. That's not the story. You know that Israel is the only state in history that sent its troop to Africa to bring Africans back to that country.
Ethiopia, correct?
From Ethiopia, to be its civilians and not slaves. I think Israel is the last country on earth to be blamed of being an apartheid state.
Would you agree that the proposed Palestinian state and most Arab countries, when it comes to Jews, are apartheid states?
Of course. The Jews left during the 50s. They left Egypt, Syria, Iraq, Jordan, and came to Israel only with their clothes on their body, with nothing more. If an Arab in Jordan, in the kingdom of Jordan, sells his house to a Jew, there's a death penalty in the Jordanian law. Not talk about Arabs in Judea and Samaria that sell to Jews. So there is a double standard over here.
And of course, you
should not be worried about
the stories, the heroic stories of the Syrians who were victimized by their own government or caught up in that civil war, coming to Israel, over the border to Israeli hospitals, Syrian children being saved. The other way around, I couldn't even picture that happening. I can't tell you what a pleasure. I wish I had another hour to talk to you. I would like to talk to you again, and good luck. And we don't know when the elections are, because it's not like here where it's every 4 years on a specific date. It's a different system over in Israel. But I wish you well, and thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, for coming in. Really appreciate it.
טוב, אז זה היה רעיון ככה מלטף, כמו שאומרים. מישהו מהצד שלנו, לפעמים זה קורה גם למנהיגי, לפעמים צריך לנסוע לניו יורק כדי להגיע למישהו שנותן לך לדבר ויתייחס בכבוד את דבריך. אני רוצה להראות לכם עכשיו קטע, בהיותי חבר כנסת הגיע פוליטיקאי בכיר, אמריקאי, חבר קונגרס, הקבי, מייק הקבי, באמת אוהב ישראל גדול, ונתבקשתי לבוא ולהשתתף בישיבה מיוחדת שנעשתה לכבודו, ודיברתי שם גם בעברית וגם באנגלית על אותם נושאים שאנחנו מדברים. ומה שחשוב, הסיבה שבחרנו את המפגש הזה להקרין, כדי לתת לכם מושג כיצד אני מבין צריכים להתנהל יחסי החוץ של מדינת ישראל. במדינת ישראל יש ידידים, כיצד אנחנו צריכים לדבר אליהם, לא על בסיס של תלות, לא בסיוע ולא, אלא על בסיס של ערכים משותפים ועל בסיס של אינטרסים משותפים. בואו ונצפה.
חבר הכנסת משה פייגלין. בעברית או באנגלית? בעברית. שקו. תודה רבה, חבר הכנסת ניסים זאב, היושב ראש, ידידי היקר. תודה לברוך בואך, המושל מייק הקבי, ידיד ישראל אמיתי. תודה לכל חברי הכנסת והפעילים הנוכחים. אני לא אחזור בשמות כולם כדי לחסוך בזמן. אני גם מראש מתנצל שאני אצטרך לקום וללכת בסיום דבריי, משום שישנה עוד מעט ב-12 מתחילה ישיבה בנושא הר הבית, ששם כמובן אני חייב להימצא, אז אשתדל לקצר. דני ידידי, אני לא יכול שלא לומר לך, חבר הכנסת דנון, עם כל אני אומר זאת כמובן באהבה גדולה, שיש לנו בעיה. ישראל ממשיכה להעביר כספים לרשות הפלסטינית. מה אתה רוצה מהאמריקאים? משאיות תאונות במיליוני שקלים במזומן עוברות כל חודש את מחסום ארז, שלא לדבר על חשמל חינם ומה לא. אז מה אתה רוצה מהאמריקאים? ובכלל, ידידיי וידידי המושל הסנאטור הקבי, our problem is not America. Our problem is ourselves. And when, excuse me, סליחה שאני עובר לרגע לאנגלית, כי אני מנסה לדבר באופן אישי. We sharing the same values. And only from that perspective we can go further and bring redemption to ourselves and to the entire world. We have something in common, you and I. I listen to your speeches, and every time you speak, you're saying something that I hear myself saying all the time. You say, I believe in God. And without that, the delegitimization will continue. There is no legitimacy to the state of Israel without that simple sentence. I believe in God. We believe in God. We hear only because of that. Once we're trying to run away from it, to run away from who we are, run away from our identity, this is the aisle, this is the path, this is the open door, the open gate actually to the delegitimization that we suffer today. What do you want from the Arabs? What do we want from the Americans? Well, who do we complain for? If we ourselves came in the Oslo agreements and said, the heart of the biblical land belonged to a different group. They're not even a nation. We call them a nation. And we declared, and we continue declaring, that they own the land. Once we did that, we lost the strongest weapon. The strongest weapon is justice. Once we did that, we cannot call them terrorists anymore. It's their land. Once we did that, and if you look, when the delegitimization started, it started there in the Oslo process. At that point. So I'll make it very short. There's a lot of things to say, a lot of things to deal about. I understand we'll see you further on today, and we'll go deeper into the subjects. But the true point, and I'm telling it to all my friends over here, religious and non-religious, the true point is that once Israel and the United States of America will start talking to each other on the real deep values that built the two countries, which is faith in God of Israel. Once we do that, then the relationship will build on from strength to strength. If we only looking to build this relationship on different values, it's not going to work. It's not going to work for the benefit of Israel. And I'll say the following, even though it'll sound strange to some of us, it's not going to work to the benefits of the United States of America. America needs Israel, not any less than Israel needs America. Today, and by the way, the financial support from America must be stopped. Israel don't need it. Israel don't need the financial support. Israel don't need the military support. Israel needs America, and America needs Israel to spread around the world the message of freedom, because we share the same values, and this is the basic where their relationship should be based on. So thank you very much, and we'll continue further later. Thank you.
טוב, זה השיח שיהיה בעזרת השם כשבראשות הממשלה, ראשות ממשלת ישראל יעמוד מנהיג אמוני, לא יהיה לנו פחות חברים בעולם, יהיה לנו יותר חברים בעולם. אחד מהם, חלייר מילי, הגיע לכאן ורץ הישר לכותל המערבי, ויש עוד רבים כמוהו, שמחכים למנהיגות ישראלית, מנהיגות יהודית שמדברת בלבל זה בדיוק. עכשיו לבונבון, במהלך שירותי בכנסת, במהלך היותי בכנסת, נכנס צה"ל ללבנון, נכנס צה"ל לעזה, מבצע צוק איתן, 2014. סבב, עכשיו יש לנו סבב משודרג, אז היה סבב, זה התחיל בהפצצות, כמו הפעם, בהמשך כניסה של חיילי של כוחות צה"ל, כמו הפעם, זה הסתיים כעוד סבב, כמו הפעם לצערנו. במהלך כל הסיפור הזה, באתי עם אותם פתרונות בדיוק שאני בא היום, אין חדש תחת השמש, הכל כתבתי, כולל מה לעשות עם הערבים, כתבתי שצריך לרכז אותם על גבול סיני, להשמיד את כל, כדי לא לפגוע במה שמכונה חפים מפשע, להשמיד את כל העסק, ולאפשר להם להגר למקומות שהם רוצים להגר, כפי שרובם מעוניינים. אותם דברים בדיוק כפי שהיו. חמאס טען שסגן יושב ראש הכנסת רוצה להקים מחנות ריכוז, אז הוא אמר מחנות ריכוז לערבים, ואז אני ניסה לקחת את דבריי ולהפוך אותם לאיזושהי אמירה שכזאת, ו-concentration camp קראו לזה, ובמקביל הם דיברו על כך שהיהודים מערבבים את דם המוסלמים במצות שלהם, אמירות אנטישמיות מטורפות לחלוטין. אז המראיין של ה-CNN מדבר עם דובר חמאס, ואז אני עולה להגיב מול דובר חמאס. בואו נצפה.
I asked the Hamas spokesman Osama Hamdan about some shocking comments he made to a Palestinian TV channel about the Jewish people. Listen to some of that heated exchange here in the Situation Room. You believe that Jews would kill Christians to mix their blood to bake the holy matzahs on Passover? Is that your belief, Mr. Hamdan?
Well, Wolf, let me answer that freely. Don't cut me, because it's very, very, very important to be clarified. First, I was asked about a statement published by the Deputy Speaker of the Knesset, the Israeli Parliament, Moshe Feiglin, who published a plan to have a complete, it's under the name, complete destruction of the Palestinians in Gaza. And in this plan, he suggested to put all the Palestinians in a concentration camps. He is talking about genocide.
So do you believe that Jews used to slaughter Christians to bake
excuse me, you cut the words, not you. The Israelis, in memory, they cut the facts, and they start this propaganda to say that they are innocent. They want to cover the genocide which is happening in Gaza now.
Really pressed us on Hamdan to answer the question. He never really did answer my question. Instead, as you heard, he tried to deflect the question by bringing up a statement by Moshe Feiglin, the deputy speaker of the Israeli Knesset. Feiglin has reached out to us asking to respond. He's joining us now from Jerusalem. Moshe Feiglin, thanks very much for joining us. So he says you support the genocide of the Palestinian people. We checked the open letter you published on August 1st. You don't call for genocide, but you do call for removal of all Palestinians from Gaza, 1.7, 1.8 million Palestinians. You want to put them in tent encampments in Sinai. Is that right?
Well, first of all, let me talk about what he said. I think talking about concentration camps is exactly like talking about mixing Christian blood on Passover. It's the same logic, it's the same basic anti-Semitism, and it's ridiculous. What I was talking about is that Israel have to win this war, and not only for Israel. Israel have to win this war against the extreme Islamic terror, not only for ourselves, but for the entire world. And in order to do so, in the most humane way, I said that we should give the Arabs in these territories where they're launching the rockets and digging the tunnels and fighting against us, using their own children as a human shield, we should give these civilians 8 hours to move to a sheltered places. That's what I was talking about.
Well, let me be precise,
course,
Mr. Feiglin. Let me be precise, because it did arouse an enormous amount of concern, this letter. Do you want to kick all the Palestinians out of Gaza and move them to what you call tent encampments in Sinai?
I want to give the Arabs in the Gaza Strip three choices, three very simple choices. Those who fighting against us should be killed, should be dead. Those who launching these rockets from kindergartens and so on should be shot. It is very simple. Those who wants to leave, and most of them, according to their surveys, more than 80% of them wishes to leave, should get from us and from the entire world all the help and support to find their future in a better place. Those who wants to stay can stay. This is exactly what I wrote, and this is exactly what I mean. The problem is, what really bothers this Osama Hamas spokesman, who very much care about the human life, of course. What he really worries about, that this is a plan to win, and Israel have to win this war.
Hold on a second.
Mr.
Feiglin, hold on one second. I want to be precise, because I got the letter. You published it August 1st to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. In the letter, and I'll read it to you, you say the formerly populated areas will be shelled in Gaza with maximum firepower. The entire civilian and military infrastructure of Hamas will be destroyed entirely. And then you say those who insist on staying will be required to publicly sign a declaration of loyalty to Israel. But getting back to the original proposal, you say they all have to leave and go to tent encampments in Sinai. Are you standing by that?
No, I did not say in Sinai. You know something, Wolf? I think that the Germans in Dresden or the Chinese in Nagasaki would have loved to get such an offer before they were bombed by the British and by the Americans. I'm talking again about the most humane way to win this war. And because we did not win this war, and because we shook the hands of these evil people 20 years ago in Oslo, you got the twin September 11th.
Hold on a second.
In New York.
I'm going to read.
You should realize. Hold on one second. Let me just finish the sentence, please. You should realize which kind of war we're dealing with.
I understand the nature of war, but let me read to you the sentence that you wrote, and you tell me if this is accurate. The IDF will designate certain open areas on the Sinai border adjacent to the sea in which the civilian population will be gathered, far from the built-up areas that are used for rocket launches and tunneling. In these areas, tent encampments will be established until relevant emigration destinations are determined. Electricity and water supply to the formerly populated areas will be disconnected. Are those your words?
Definitely. We should understand, Wolf. This is a war between evil and good, between light and darkness. And this darkness, if you don't want it in Washington, should be a win. And the only way to flourish the Gaza Strip is to do exactly what we did in Jaffa 19 years before. There will be only peace in the region under the full sovereignty of Israel. We should understand that after 20 years of trying to give these terrorists any kind of sovereignty in the land of Israel. This plan, I'm saying again, is the most humane plan and the only plan that will bring peace and will flourish the region. When you give these people money, billions and billions of dollars, they don't build homes, they don't build kindergartens, they don't build any kind of economy. All they do is bring more bloodshed to the region. This is a plan to win the war with the less of casualties that can be from both sides, and for once and for all, bring peace to the region.
Moshe Feiglin is the Deputy Speaker of the Israeli Knesset. He's a member of the Likud party. Mr. Feiglin, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
טוב, אז כמו שאתם רואים, אין חדש תחת השמש, מה שהיה הוא שיהיה, 2014, 2024, 10 שנים אחר כך, אותם מילים, אותם מעשים של חמאס, ואותן תשובות שלי, גם בעברית, וגם באנגלית, גם לציבור בישראל, וגם לציבור לאומות העולם שמעבר לים, דוברות האנגלית לפחות. מה אני אגיד לכם? הגיע הזמן שהתוכניות הללו יתממשו, שככה אנחנו צריכים סוף סוף לאחוז בהגה השלטון בישראל ולממש את התוכניות היחידות שמתבררות והולכות שוב ושוב ושוב כיחידות, התוכניות היחידות שמחוברות למציאות ושיביאו לניצחון ולשגשוג של עם ישראל. להתראות לכולם, ביום שלישי יהיה לכם שידור מרתק ב7, לא שידור חי, אבל ביום שלישי יהיה שידור של חומרים מאוד מעניינים שאנחנו מכינים לכם באופן קבוע ב7 בערב, ביום חמישי שוב 5 על 5, שבוע טוב לכולם.